Hello and welcome to Business Daily, coming to you live on Trust TV. This is a program where we'll keep you up to the minute with happenings in the world of business, economy, innovation, finance, and of course tell you major news making the rounds in the Nigerian space. My name is Christiana Amodu Otinya. Thank you for always keeping a date with us on the program. On today's edition of the program, our focal point, of course, will be on the manufacturing sector and also the harm that is being caused by counterfeit goods in the manufacturing sector. I will be joined by one of Nigeria's foremost economists, Paul Alaje. He is the senior economist at SPM Professionals. He will be joining me on the program today, and he'll be putting perspective to some of the developments we have seen come up in the manufacturing sector. A lot has been said about how the sector has over 77 subsectors, especially in manufacturing. There's so much potential in the manufacturing sector to add value to the Nigerian economy, but then again, challenges continue to hinder significant development in that sector. Also, Nigeria is a nation of over 200 million people, and the population continues to grow sporadically. What is being done to ensure that manufacturers reap the dividends of this large market in Nigeria? I believe there's a bill that has passed second reading, I think in the month of November 2021 in the National Assembly, especially with regards to issues around counterfeiting and how that can be criminalized. How far so far with that law? All of this we'll be looking at on the program today. Don't forget, you can follow us live on the program on social media, on all our social media platforms, to trust us to give you all the information you need to know in the world of business. I'll hold my horses here, take a short break. When I return, the program will continue. Please stay. Welcome back, and thank you for still staying there with us on the program. This is Business Daily, of course. My guest is here with me in the studio. He is Paul Alaje, like I mentioned earlier, senior economist at SPM Professional. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you so very much for having me, and good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us on the program. Now, before we look into the issues critically, we have a video from one of Nigeria's manufacturers, especially in the cable and wires industry, and he is speaking to some of the challenges that is being faced in that industry. Let's hear what he has to say and have you also react to some developments from that. Please take a listen.
The standard SON standard for cable coil in Nigeria is 100 meters, not plus or minus. If you like, put 100 and plus, but it cannot be less than 100 meters. Nigerians will buy these cables cheaper, but these cables are coiled at 60 meters. So the guy has taken out 40% of the material. He's taking out another 40% of the length of the cable. The profit is about 60–70%. But he's told you that his cable is 20% cheaper than, or 10% cheaper than a 100-meter cable that is standard. You actually saved nothing. You actually gave the guy a lot more money, and you have been penny wise, pound foolish. Piracy is a problem in this country. Cable adulteration, cable copying, we've seen that. Unfortunately, my own belief is that you need to fight piracy with capacity rather than just go head-on fighting piracy. Now, the problem with piracy is only money being made. No pirate or criminal does anything for normal profit, because if they're doing normal profit, they as well should be my distributor. But they want exceptional profit, which means they need to cut corners. Now, you have a problem with, everybody knows made in Nigeria, but it's good. But you have issues with people underspecking, understating whatever the weight of the cable is or whatever the diameter of the cable is in order to just get away with more money.
Yes, we have one of Nigeria's manufacturers there speaking on the cable industry. I believe there was a point where the cables in Nigeria were judged as some of the best around the world. And now we are hearing him raise concerns around how much piracy is causing harm to that industry. Let's have your reaction to some of the things Mr. George has said in the video.
Generally speaking, many Nigerians still believe that you might criticize Nigerian standard for many things, but not cable. So to so many people, it's a shock that the so-called Nigerian cable, whatever brand you call it, but once it is made in Nigeria, we have that strong confidence because of the work the association as well as Standard Organization of Nigeria has put in place, that with Nigerian cable, you can be rest assured that you will have quality. So it is not only dangerous to life or cheating people, as he has put it, they are cheating the consumer, which I believe that the Consumer Protection Board Council should do something about. I think it's also evil to the economy. When people start losing trust, what happens is you start seeing imports. People will lose faith in local products. They will start importing, and that will put pressure on foreign reserve. When foreign reserve is depleted and central bank is not able to respond, you start seeing exchange rate weaker. When exchange rate gets weaker, you start seeing inflation go up. When inflation starts going up, you start seeing the impact on the GDP. When GDP starts when GDP starts contracting, you start seeing the implication on jobs. When jobs get affected, you start seeing the implication on crime, criminality. You start seeing it on banditry, terrorism, stealing, armed robbery. When all of those are going on, you start seeing it in people becoming more desperate. You start seeing it in poverty. You start seeing it in hunger. You start seeing it in privation. And more importantly, multidimensional poverty.
It's good that you have mentioned that just one component is having a ripple effect across board, across all the major indices of Nigeria's macro economy. Now, in that video, he also stated that we should fight piracy with capacity. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't think we have capacity to do a number of things. Talk is cheap. We've seen governments demonstrate, what do we call it now? A show of force. What are you really able to use the force is the question. We remember, so when it comes to regulation, a woman of blessed memory, Akoile, continue to resonate in our mind that it's not about being a woman or a man. If you are purposeful, if you are determined, if you have what it takes, you have the right equipment, and you have the right thing, you will certainly achieve the goal of regulation. So we want to fight with capacity. We see some Standard Organization of Nigeria go once in a while to some places and do a video, trend on social media. We see it in the newspaper. But you see, this is one out of 1,000, beyond cable. It affects rice, as common as rice. You see a major brand known, people will go and look for another brand, open it up, put it in the bag of the known brand, sell it at higher price because of abnormal profit.
True. Simply
because of abnormal profit. So the market share of the big brand that has built over the years is eroded into. Eventually, that factory may close down. So this is why government must understand that the strategy of fighting piracy must change. The style of fighting fake products must change. We must become more holistic. We must become more comprehensive in our approach so that we can put a stop or drastically minimize some of these trends that we are seeing in terms of fake products and piracy in the country today.
Talking about strategy to tackle this menace of counterfeit goods in the country. Now, what strategy would you say would work? Because you just mentioned the whole issue around the Standard Organization of Nigeria, and rightfully, as you have said, we get to see videos of the SON, the FCCPC swinging into action. Although it is said Babatunde Irukera, the head of the FCCPC, we've seen that he has been active for some time trying to curb that. What strategy would work given current realities that we have on ground?
The first is Nigeria knows little or not. Nigeria don't know much. Information, you know, is really not, information is not circulating. Like when you ask which candidate is running for elections, it's trending on social media.
Yes.
Perhaps 3 major candidates out of all. You see these 3 major candidates trend at least once or twice a week on social media. True. That's on one hand. On the second hand, you see also newspaper headlines, at least once a week, something will be mentioned about these 3 candidates. Let's leave it at that. Before we come to television, before we go to out of homes, how many of these piracy are we even informing our population about? And what is the action the population is to take? Oh, it's written in the law. How many times people are struggling to eat? They are not lawyers. Yes, we have lawyers that are doing their job, but some of the time, or most of the time, what we spend time doing is to fight effects. The real cause or preventive measures are not put in place. So we need to first educate the population that when you see this sign, it shows that the product is fake. That is on one hand. Now, don't leave it at that. Oh, I bought a fake product. You shouldn't end with that. What must you do when you realize that what you've purchased is fake? That should be the next thing. So what must you do? 2, so that's empowering the public to take decision. The second thing is association of manufacturers. Can they have maybe once or twice a week? I've seen the Pharmaceutical Council, they've done that.
Yes.
From time to time, they just go to some places in the name of the council, in the name of the association, close down some fake so-called chemists and say you need to be licensed by government so that you don't destroy our population in the name of cancer, in the name of drugs. They don't need wrong prescriptions, you know, drugs dispensing without without having prescribed
yes.
by a medical practitioner,
yes.
especially doctors. You know, so if we have such association working more, but what I've seen with the practice is once in 6 months and sometimes never happen in a year. But when this becomes more consistent, once a month, twice in a month, you're going to see that you will have a pushback. I saw a video by, I think, Standard Organization of Nigeria of, you know, people drinking some of these wine. I don't want to mention it because
yes.
I'm not sure they
yes.
paid for the program.
Yes.
You know, so you now see people counterfeiting, producing.
I also saw this video you're talking
so
about.
what happens? You think you are buying the product. Meanwhile, they are just mixing a few things and they don't know the long effects, you know, lasting effects on body. They've not checked that with human organ. They've not checked it with any part of human body. But people consume, they make the money, they package it and push to the public. And people will consume if it appears relatively cheaper, 10% cheaper, 5% cheaper. Meanwhile, people are eating poison. So how do we checkmate that? Oh, we carry them, take them to the police. Police will do preliminary investigation, take them to court because of our laws. You cannot keep people beyond certain times and they go to court. But how do you know where and where again that is happening? How do you put something together, like a video, like a documentary,
yes.
so that other people that may want to start such enterprise, we know that some people were caught and these were the punishments, novel in nature, then you will be scared in going into such. So there are other things government could do or regulatory bodies could do, association could do, but put in front awareness. Let the people know, a population that is aware. It will be very difficult for you to take such population for a fool.
Thank you. A population that is aware, very, very important. You know, it's cliche to say information is power, but then as cliche as it sounds, when you are aware of something, mistakes that probably you made in the past will not be repeated. Now, Mr. Paul, we put some facts together on counterfeit products in Nigeria and globally, how global economy, the Nigerian economy have also suffered and money's been lost to counterfeit good. Now, global economy loses as much as $3 billion yearly to counterfeit products. Back in the year 2014, the former Director General of SON, Joseph Odumodu, stated that over 1 million jobs were lost over 20 years due to counterfeit counterfeiting. Now, a market survey by Pfizer revealed that 40% of Pfizer medicines in Nigeria are sourced from illicit parallel importation. That's also a form of counterfeiting. Now, over 50% of drugs, foods, and drinks sold in open markets are counterfeit. That's what you have rightly alluded to. Nigeria may lose 612 billion naira yearly ICT revenue due to counterfeiting. Most of the counterfeits originate in middle-income or emerging countries, with China, the top producer, accounting for a whopping 63.2% of customs seizures between 2011 and the year 2013. The second biggest producer of fake products is Turkey, accounting for 3.3% of customs seizure. Now, as of 2016, 80% of the products sold in Nigeria were counterfeits. And as of today, it is quite doubtful that the percentage of counterfeit and illegal goods in circulation has decreased by 50%. Now, according to a report from Frontier Economics in 2017, which was based on an earlier report, it was estimated that the total international trade in counterfeit and pirated goods in 2022 will be worth $991 billion, which is almost double of the number reported in the year 2013. That's $461 billion. Now, looking at global industries most affected by fakes, we have footwear, clothing, leather goods, electrical equipment, watches, medical equipment, perfumes and cosmetics, toys, jewelry, pharmaceuticals, and other industries. Now, this fact also pushed to some of the things that you have rightly mentioned around how this counterfeiting is really causing a dent to the economic growth of the country. Now, I want you to look at it from the prism of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. How do you think this can also help solve this challenge of counterfeiting?
Well, it depends on the strength of different markets. When I say market, I mean countries. In Africa, if you have, they said the strength of a chain is measured by its weakest link. If you have a country that's open the borders to counterfeits, it's part of Africa now, and you might not be able to determine the origin of the product. That could even be changed, and you start selling to your countries. So to the country, other countries within the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. So it's going to have tremendous negative impacts on the country, on other countries. So if you have a country, say in Ghana, a business in Ghana that is selling at, say, for the sake of this example, $5. That's the cost of the real product. And someone brings up the counterfeit and decides to sell at $2, and it brings it to another country very close to Ghana. And you feel, oh, so why should I buy from Ghana? Since it's the same product, it's going to cost me $1 to transport from that country to my country. It's still $3. What you are doing by implication is that that factory in Ghana should close down. Meanwhile, the real element that is being produced in Ghana is even stronger than the country that is producing fake. And what do you know as a consumer? That is why awareness must be very, very important. There must be laws to say that the components of the things must be tested by different countries' regulators. So whether it's country A or B, yes, we are opening our borders, we are creating a borderless continent, but we have to be sure that our people are protected. Over 1 billion people. We cannot be gullible together, because when we are gullible together, we perish together as fools. True. So our job as a people, as black people or as African continent, is to ensure that whatever is crossing borders from one point to the other, as we have destroyed economically the demarcation among these countries, are tested, and the people to test them is part of capacity, are given the right to test them. Again, I go back to this example of cable. Can we randomly go to the market as regulators and say, see, we have the money to pay, but we want to buy also, and let us check? And do we have a toll-free line people could make calls? And what is the turnaround time of government agency? Not just in Nigeria, in Cameroon, in Kenya, in South Africa, in Botswana. What is the turnaround time? There must be a unified agreement as to when the turnaround will come and what will be the action of government. It must be the same. And if they found anyone counterfeiting such product, the company should be sanctioned, the origin should be sanctioned, decision must be made. Why? Because you need to send negative signal. You need to send right signal to the public, and you need to that should serve as deterrent to those who are producing fakes.
Well, I want to ask you now, at a time, the World Poverty Clock adjudged Nigeria the poverty capital of the world. And I know you, of all people, know how much inflation is biting hard, talking about the economic situation of Nigerians. And inflation has eroded the purchasing power of Nigerians. Do you think perhaps this is also responsible for why we are seeing the counterfeit culture thrive in the country, considering the fact that we don't have people that have so much monies to spare? So if I go and I want to get a product and I see this goes for 1,000 naira and I see the exact same product goes for 500 naira, of course, my instincts will say there's something responsible for this. Yes, there's something responsible for this difference. Do you think the fact that the economic situation is not looking so good in Nigeria is responsible for why we are seeing this counterfeit market thrive?
Yeah, you're right, but this is to put it in a right perspective, the role of regulators. You might have brand A and brand B, and the two of them are not counterfeit, and the price are different. You could have brand A because of their source of raw materials, which is part of their supply chain. It's higher. Exchange rate of the country is higher. Cost of labor in the country is higher. You can have brand B, perhaps it's even made in our country, where labor is relatively cheaper, even though they have to pay more for power, by running diesel. But if you go to the other country, the cost of electricity is also high. It might not be as high as diesel, but it's definitely high. So you might also look at cost of imports. If you are producing in Nigeria and you sold your raw material in Nigeria, it might not be as high. So it is possible where you have two products or different rates. This is what we are talking about, that is counterfeit. When you say the same product, the same name, or different name, and there is no authentication by government or by regulators, and they cannot verify to us that this product is genuine or not, or someone deliberately brought counterfeit to the market because he's looking at a major hand out of the two hands that interact for market to happen. That's demand and supply. It feels the market has been, the supply side has been thwarted. So what could be done is to bring down price so that people can buy. Unfortunately, if it is drug, what you are selling is poison. If it is food, what you are selling is poison. Nothing can be compared, can justify destruction of a people. You cannot justify it. I understand that inflation has eroded people's wealth and their capacity to purchase. In the last 1 year, nearly 20% of what you are capable of purchasing has been eroded on the average by inflation, and that is just an official figure. Unofficially, my personal basket of commodities has been eroded by 42%. If I measure from flight tickets, by how much has it been eroded in the last 1 year? Or should I talk about purchasing food? By how much has been eroded in the last 1 year? So when you put it together in the right perspective, you see that inflation, the least you can talk about is the official figure. So it has eroded people's purchasing power. And that is why governments of countries are trying best possible to compensate consumers as inflation continues to bite hard on their limited resources.
From the data I just reeled out, we are seeing China, countries like China, Turkey, topping the charts in terms of fake products. I want you to look at the dichotomy of made in Nigeria and sold in Nigeria, because we know that's a thing whereby some things are actually made elsewhere, they're brought back home here, and we see a changing of tags or whatever as the case may be. Do you think that is also aiding and abetting this menace we are talking about? It
is. There are two types of counterfeiting with regard to what you mentioned. There are even some people that when it's made in Nigeria, they remove the tag and place it made in another country because they've watched Nigerian tastes. Nigeria believe whatever comes from outside Nigeria, it's original, more original than Nigeria. Meanwhile, they are lying to themselves because there are things that are made in Nigeria that are even better off than things that are coming out of Nigeria. For instance, you've seen rice that are synthetic in nature. The nutrient is very low, but it found itself into Nigeria. We've also seen what Mr. Tunde Irukere revealed a number of years ago regarding fish, or what do we call it now? Chicken, that have stayed on the IC for months and are capable of poisoning people over the time or killing people as it affect their kidneys and so on and so forth. And he made a fantastic presentation. Those were not made in Nigeria. But they come to Nigeria. Nigeria feel, oh, this is foreign, let us buy it, let us consume it. People might be buying what could kill them. That on one hand. We've also seen people who produce abroad and come to Nigeria. Nigeria quickly change it so that it could be integrated into our system. It also make it right. What that will do again is that it will kill the genuine efforts of Nigerians that are trying to produce. Recall that they will have to struggle to get power. They will struggle to get honest labor, which is another factor entirely.
Yes.
To get labor is not an issue, but to get labor that is honest, that will not destroy the business. It seems as though Nigerian businesses is faced with a lot of gang-ups of counterfeits coming from outside Nigeria, coming to fight in the same space where they are operating. You also have labor, which is also key factors, which also are coming to destroy such business, especially when pilfering is involved.
Okay, so in just 30 seconds, let's have your final thoughts. What's your call to the agencies, government, to end the menace of counterfeiting? Energy
is involved. Things work. Countries that work, it is because people work, especially regulators. They are doing their job. That is why things work. If you want to end counterfeit in Nigeria or reduce it to the barest minimum, we can do it. But it will not be as usual. Ending counterfeit goes beyond passing files, signing forms. You have to roll your sleeve. You have to remove your babariga. You have to remove your agbada. You have to remove your ashoke. You have to get to the field. It is in the field that things are happening. It is not in the offices. You first need to do the field work before you enjoy the ACs in the office.
Thank you so much, Paul Alaja, Senior Economist at SPM Professional. I think you've succinctly put what's the right thing that needs to be done. We need to get to work to end counterfeiting as a menace to Nigerian economy and also to the health of Nigerians. It is very important that we all come together and work towards fighting the menace of counterfeiting in Nigeria. We've seen numerous instances of building collapse in the country, and the Builders Association have said this as a result of substandard products. So as much as this counterfeiting thrives, it harms all of us, because then again we cannot tell what will happen in the next minute. So we all have to work together to put an end to it. Thank you for investing your time with me on the program today. Don't forget, you can catch up on all the programs on Trust TV social media platforms. Get all you need to know on Trust TV YouTube page also. My name is Christiana Amodu Otinya. Thank you for joining and continue to stay safe.